Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about 13 Reasons Why, the newly released Netflix adaptation. 13 Reasons Why is written by Jay Asher, and like I said, it just released on Netflix and 13 episodes, so they're all that you can binge right now. If you are unfamiliar with this book slash show, we follow the main character Clay Jensen, who comes home from school one day to find this package on his doorstep, and when he opens it up, it is a box full of cassette tapes. After playing one of these tapes, he learns that the voice is Hannah Baker, his classmate that had committed suicide a few weeks back. So after listening to a little bit of the tapes, he learns each of these tapes have numbers on them. There are 7 tapes, only to 13 technically tapes if you want to get into it. And within each of these 13 tapes, there are 13 reasons why Hannah said she committed suicide. Each of these 13 tapes are actually centered around a particular person. So these tapes go from person to person on the list. So Clay is obviously on the list, and he's trying to figure out why he has to be on this list because Hannah was a friend. Hannah was a love interest for him. So it's all about that. It's all about uncovering why Hannah decided to take her life, learning more about the mysteries and secrets behind these tapes, and how Clay fits into it. I actually finished the audiobook before I started watching the show, so it is still very fresh in my mind, and I highly recommend if you're interested in checking out the book, I would actually listen to it. I've heard a lot of people say that the book is good, but I've heard a ton of people say that the audiobook is really a lot better, and I can attest to that fact. I haven't attempted actually physically reading the book, but the audiobook was amazing. Every time he started listening to the tape, you actually had a different narrator for Hannah, so it was very interactive. Before I get into spoilers, because I most definitely will while talking about the show and book, I'm going to tell you what my overall thoughts and opinions are on the show. So like I said, Netflix just released a 13 episode season of this, and I'm so glad it did 13 episodes because obviously it's 13 Reasons Why, so it coincides great. I thought I did really well with the Netflix adaptation. I'm really loving that a lot of books are being turned into TV shows, and more in particular, a lot of them are going to like Netflix or Hulu or HBO, and I think they're doing great within those spectrums. I have to say, overall, I thought it was an amazing show. I thought it was a great adaptation. They changed a ton of things, and things that I were expecting them to change because I think you had to change when it comes to the adaptation, but I love the show. I thought the actors did really well in the show. I thought they portrayed the characters better, which is speaking in itself because in the book we don't get a lot of the characters. Like we learn about their tape and what they did, but in the show brings a whole new light to them, so I really enjoyed that aspect. There were a few problems I had with the show with some of the changes, but overall I really enjoyed the adaptation. Like one of my favorite adaptations I've ever seen, and if you've seen a lot of book to movie, book to TV show adaptations, a lot of them don't fare out so well. So it was safe to say that I was very skeptical of this, but I'm glad that I really enjoyed it. If I could give this show a rating, I guess you could say, I would give it a 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. Like I was sad when it ended, even though it's such a sad show, but it was such a really good show. The show is heavy. The book is heavy. There is no secret about that. This is about a girl that has committed suicide, and you're learning why. And I've heard a lot of people say the book is problematic and that it glamorizes suicide, as well as the show. I can say it kind of glamorizes suicide because it almost treats it like a murder mystery. So there's that problem. If you're wondering, if you're skeptical to get into it, it kind of almost glamorizes suicide, but I feel like the show really brings like that suicide aspect to a whole new level, and it really makes the characters think about their actions and how you affect people by what you do and what you say, and they talk a lot about suicide and like how people feel. So I feel like the show did handle the suicide topic very well. I think almost kind of better than the book because they talked about it more and you got to see the characters' reactions from Hannah's suicide. It deals with so many amazing topics that need to be talked about, like suicide, there's bullying, there's slut shaming, there's rape. There's so much more that the show deals with and that it should be dealt with, but it's very heavy. So just know that getting into it, maybe if you're too young to watch this, if you're not, just know that it's a very heavy show. It's not a funny show. It's not a light show. It's a show that deals with a lot of important topics that need to be talked about, and I thought the show handled them all really well. So now I'm going to get into spoilers because there's a lot to talk about with the show. So if you haven't seen the show, probably don't watch any further. If you haven't read the book, maybe don't watch any further. To each his own, whatever you want to do, just know I'll be spoiling it starting now. So getting into the differences from the book to the show. The quite obvious one, if you've read the book, Clay listens to these tapes all in one night. He receives the tapes in the afternoon and he stays up until the very till like school starts the next day to listen to them all. That's 13 tapes he has to listen to. In the show, they obviously treating it very differently. Clay is taking his time with each one of these tapes. Each episode represents a different tape. So they expanded it more. So Clay's going to school. You get to see more characters. With this difference, I 100% understand the difference. It needed to happen, because if the show would have literally taken from the book, it would have been just Clay riding around his bike all night and maybe talking to 2 other characters, and that would have been really it, and you would have just seen flashbacks. That's the most obvious difference, and I'm glad that Netflix changed that, because it definitely would have kind of almost been boring if they stayed the same route of the book in that aspect. In the book, we also hear from only Clay. Clay is our main protagonist in the book, as well as he is in the show. I'd say Clay and Hannah are the main characters, like in the book. But in the show, we get so many more characters. You get to see actually the characters that were talked about in the tapes that you don't really know about in the book. You've heard about the things that they've done and the, you know, actions that they may have had and the actions they have done. But in the show, you actually get to see them more. You get to see them fleshed out. You get to see how they're feeling with the repercussions of this tape, with, you know, their home life. You get to see their backstory a little bit, which I also really enjoyed that difference as well. I got to see a whole new light with these characters that we weren't necessarily seeing in the book. You know, we get to see Alex. I think Alex is a very standout character, honestly, and I like the actor in him as well. Miles Helsler, he was in Parenthood, one of my favorite shows, and I liked seeing him. I feel like he was one that really progressed a lot in the show. He really took Hannah's tapes to heart. Some of the other characters didn't. They kind of brushed it under the rug and they were like, whatever, but Alex really took a lot of things to heart. As well as you got to see Jessica fleshed out more. I like that. As well as Justin. Justin had a very horrible lifestyle at home and things like that. You got to see Bryce and the horrible stuff he is, and to see all of these characters that you didn't see in the book really, and you got to see them like brought to light. I really enjoyed watching all of their progressions and their home lives and things like that, like their backstories. I really liked that they showed Hannah's parents in the show. In the book, I was constantly wondering how her parents were reacting, how her parents were, because this is a very huge and heavy and horrible thing that has happened to them, and I kept thinking about them. So I'm really glad Netflix brought in the parents. I thought, oh, it was hard. It was hard watching that, especially the very last episode when you actually see Hannah committing suicide and then her parents coming home to find her. And I do believe they changed actually her suicide from the book to the movie. I think in the book she actually took a whole bunch of pills, but in the movie she had slit her wrist, and that was very that was one of the most scary things I've ever seen on a show. And I thought, I just really enjoyed seeing her parents and how they were reacting, as well as the lawsuit that was brought on. So her parents decided to file a lawsuit against the school for bullying from Hannah, and I really enjoyed that aspect as well. It brought in a whole slew of trying to figure out also, like, you have Clay trying to figure out why Hannah has killed herself with these tapes, and you have her parents just trying to figure out why she has killed herself, and they don't know anything about the tapes. They're deciding to file a lawsuit, and they're learning more about the school and the bullying that goes on in the school, and the school doesn't really know about it or really seem to care about it. So I really enjoyed the lawsuit aspect of that as well, like the deposition, things like that. Let's talk about Clay. I enjoyed the character Clay. Clay was a great character in the book. He's like the quintessential nice guy, if you will. Like, he really cared for Hannah and he loved Hannah, but he was too scared to admit it. And I like the show version of Clay as well. He was also a nice guy. But the one thing I didn't like about it is that Clay often wanted to commit his own justice upon these people that wronged Hannah. Like, he took that picture of Tyler, which I did not enjoy that at all. I felt that was very un-Clay-like from book Clay-like. Like, even in the book, Clay had an opportunity to throw a rock at Tyler's window, but he opted not to. And he also had the opportunity to beat up Marcus, and he didn't. So that's very different from the book Clay, and I didn't like that Clay wanted to just react to his own justice. I mean, he keyed Zach's car. He got in a fight with people. He just really wanted to bring justice upon Hannah. And I'm like, you haven't even listened to your own tape yet. You don't even know the full story yet. And I felt like he was just a little bit too headstrong, and I get that he was grieving and he just wanted to do right by Hannah, but I just didn't enjoy that aspect of Clay overall. But I still really enjoyed the show Clay. I thought he was very fleshed out. You got to see his pain a lot. You got to see his darkness a lot. You got to see a lot of what he was feeling. But I just didn't like that he wanted to do his own justice with that thing. I did not enjoy that. The show's ending is very different from the book as well. The book ends with Clay finishing the tapes and going to school the next day, having to realize that he's got to face all these people that he just learned all of their dark secrets about. He sees a friend that he used to talk to a lot, Sky, and he's thinking that Sky also might be a little bit suicidal. So in the book, he reaches out to Sky, and that's how the book ends, because he doesn't want the same thing to happen to Sky like Hannah happened. So I like the overall arc with the book, how that ended. The show ends very, very differently. The show ends with, yes, Clay reaching out to Sky, which I'm glad they did. But like I said, we actually got to see Hannah's ending her own life, and it ends with Clay and Tony and Tony's boyfriend and Sky all driving off in a car together. And so, if I'm honest with you, the show kind of leaves it open-ended, and the book definitely does not leave it open-ended. You get like a clear picture with the book. The show does not end that way. If I'm honest, it leaves room. The show definitely leaves room for another season. And if I'm 100% honest, I'm not mad about that. I thought that, like, when I started the show, there was 13 episodes. I thought, perfect story arc. Like, it's gonna be great. And then the 13th episode ended, and I was like, well, there's gonna be more, because there has to be, because there's so many lingering questions. And I wouldn't hate if there was a season 2. I honestly wouldn't. There's so many things that they left open-ended. The depositions, and the end of the depositions, Tyler tells them there are tapes, and now Hannah's parents are in possession of the tapes as well. So there's a whole new room for the deposition, what they could do with the school, as well as Bryce. Clay has confronted Bryce, and Bryce has admitted to raping Hannah, as well as Jessica, and also have Tyler. In the end, we see Tyler in a dark room, and he pretty much has pictures of every person Hannah's talked about on her tape, and he takes Alex's pictures down. But then it does a flashback of where Tyler's about to be beat up, and then Alex, defends him and says, "Don't beat him up." So I'm wondering if that's a hit list almost for Tyler, if he's like, because you also see him buying a gun. So you're thinking, is this a hit list? Is he going to kill? Is he going to try to kill all these people? And he took Alex's picture down for either he's not going to kill him, but then you have Alex, who you've heard is shot himself in the head. Or did he really? Is he alive? Is he not alive? Did he shoot himself in his head, or did somebody else? Was it Tyler? There's so many open ends on this show that need resolution, in my opinion. Like, if we don't get a season 2, I might be upset, because I'll be wondering about this constantly. So, I don't know. I will be okay if they do a season 2. I've heard a ton of people talk about this show. It's getting around, so maybe Netflix will see that and renew it for a season 2, because they've got a lot to go on, and I wouldn't hate it if there's season 2, because I'm invested. I am so invested in the show. It's ridiculous. Like, overall, amazing show. One of my favorite adaptations I've ever seen. I really loved the Netflix format. I thought it fit in with the Netflix format perfectly. Like, Netflix is killing it with their originals lately. Like, you have seen 13 Reasons Why, the adaptation, and if you've read the book, please let me know what you thought about it. Did you like the adaptation? Did you like the book more, or did you like the TV show more? If I'm 100% honest with you, I have to say I like the TV show better, and that very rarely happens to me, but I like, honestly, a lot of the times when they do shows over TV, because you get to see way more, and it gets way more in depth and way more fleshed out. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions if you have seen the show. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. I make 3 bookish videos a week, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.